Hello, my fellow schizotypals, and welcome to Dublin for this episode of Highlight. One of the things that's commonality between Europe and America is that we always have the same people complaining about cycle lanes and things like that, the introduction of infrastructure. But what Europe has is walkable centers and areas for people to actually congregate free from the automobile. So when you see people committing to alternative transit in Europe, it actually is connecting all of these parts where people can be free and people actually have the opportunity to get out of the automobile, see the world around them, get familiar with their environment, rather than just being cooped up from parking lot to parking lot for their recreation. And the thing that's funny about a lot of European centers, including Netherlands, is that all of this commitment to infrastructure, all of this commitment to active lifestyles is something that's less than 100, less than 50 years old. One of the things you can see here is that the cycle lanes are all from the last 10 years. So all this infrastructure that's ubiquitous now in the Dublin area, 10 years old. Before it was nothing. Everybody had to ride with car traffic, everybody risked death. And to this day, Ireland is one of the highest death rates for cyclists in the EU. But it's leagues and above what we see as the best examples of infrastructure because of our dependency on oil and our dependency on machinery that doesn't serve any purpose other than making the investor money and keeping our interest in the same places. So again, with a place that has less people than the Detroit city and less people than the Detroit metro and less money than the state, we see infrastructure that's leagues above. Hello, my fellow schizotypals. Did you hear that noise? And welcome back to another episode of Highlight with Karhlyle Fletcher. I'm your host, Karhlyle Fletcher. We're coming to you live from Bray, Ireland. And being in Europe has taught me one thing, and that's I'm absolutely fucking correct. I've never been so happy in my life based on basically nothing. I'm going to bike shops, I'm biking around, I'm talking to strangers, I'm going to bars, I'm smoking, and just simply everything seems to be going easier. Everything's more accessible, everything is just smoother. And it's crazy because this is also the part of Europe, this is the part of Europe that's considered the least developed in terms of cycling infrastructure, in terms of active lifestyle, in terms of like all these things that you would consider part of Europe or part of the European identity, but still, it's fucking amazing. And sure, people can complain and they have a right to, but I truly think that when comparing it to Grand Rapids, or when comparing it to Detroit, or when comparing it to Lansing, only Michigan matters, let's be honest. Grand Rapids is the best of Michigan when it comes to active infrastructure and things like that, but still, it's not even Ireland. And that's not like, what surprises me so much is how people talk down about this place and how immediately happy I've been able to be by having the same exact lifestyle. Because it truly is that the built environment adds so much to your life. The built environment defines just the general vibe. Hearing the train just now, which is a different train than the local service, which is also added onto by the bus service. Having all these things immediately available makes for a very immediately rewarding lifestyle. And Bray is not the fanciest part of town. There's abandoned buildings, there's still desolation, just like home, just like Detroit. Another thing that America likes to be very proud of is that it's the champion of small business and that it's a driving force for innovative capital. But the very ground factor that's going to hold back most small businesses is that they cannot afford somewhere to have a business. They cannot afford the storefront that they're in. And a large part of that is due to the focus or the concentration of opportunities in downtowns that create
over competition for the same space. Meanwhile, when you have more density and you have more available units, you actually have people that are capable of creating more thriving and differentiated businesses that aren't reliant on strip malls, that aren't reliant on isolation and unhealthy habits, creating a isolated and unhealthy consumer who is going to be pushed more into fried foods, caffeine, and activities that are just going to further create the problems that run through the country, such as diabetes, osteoporosis, and things like that. When you're trying to address a populace of people who are by and large sick, one of the biggest things that you can do is to change their environment, because environment creates individuals just as much as individuals create environments, because over 100 years it's not one person who builds something, it's a community who builds something.
And perhaps funniest way for me to explain the difference is phallic versus womb architecture, where here everything is enveloping and it gives you a sense of place. Every horizon sort of ends, or usually does, versus in America where it goes on forever, except for the odd peaks. Womb architecture feels much more nurturing, and like there's a ability to have privacy in the public space rather than everything being on like one board and infinitely competing with itself, like you feel in a lot of cities, including Chicago.
One of the things that is very frustrating with being a homeowner or renter in America is that you have to decide which suburb you're going to live in or you're going to buy in because of infrastructure availability. And this is because in America, growth is like a cancer, in which certain tumors metastasize and spread throughout, sort of spreading out and isolating the economic activity, which means that you're not free to live where you want, and you're not free to just move about. Meanwhile, when you look at European-style cities, it's much more like a spider web, where the further that you go into the heart of the city, the more dense that it is, and the further away from that, the less dense. But all of it is served by arteries, which allows you freedom of transit within the entire metro area, no matter what area that you're living in, which is, again, a new construction, 10 years here, 50 in the Netherlands, but something that is so obvious when you're here that it makes you wonder why there's no investment for the same things back home, especially considering that that is the way that the majority of people live, is away from the opportunity to be in the financial center, away from the opportunity to have access to wealth and resources. Meanwhile, simple connections can actually allow people to enjoy these amenities while still having the freedom to live where they would like to.
So when you're just walking around, you'll see this, advertising of American imperialism, basically, or just American products and trash food. And it's just sad to see that it's like, well, we're given beautiful buildings, hardworking people, a culture of food, and all of these things in our country. We're given all of that. What we give back to the world is auto dependency, fast food, malls, isolation, suburban housing. Because you can see like all the new stuff is like informed by that. The difference is that it seems like they're not as lobbied by oil here, maybe. It's not as like far along. They don't run their fucking country, so you actually do get investment in other areas where it's like that also seems to really help the infrastructure, where it's like if you can split up things to public transit, to cycling, to rail, you're gonna preserve your roads better. And there's a lot of shitty ones here, but like not as much in the States, where it's like everything. I mean, Michigan, the double load truck where everything can be twice as heavy is big fucked. But I mean, this being in the middle of the city is amazing, considering there are so many. There's Phoenix Park, there's Fairview Park, there's this park, there's like all this wonderful green space with density, and there's suburban living. It just seems like everybody here is kind of winning with like womb architecture, and the consistency of it makes for a much more robust environment. So when you're going from like Detroit to Rochester Hills, there's just fucking empty space where it's like, sure, there are definitely suburbs that have community, that have something going on, but a lot of them do end up feeling hollow. Meanwhile, here, Dunleary does feel like its own thing. There are several neighborhoods that feel almost like city centers.
You know, so it's like when you see the things away from the city center, it's still thriving. There's still a lot of options. There's still competition between local businesses. There's still all of those things that you don't really see as much in the States because of the difficulty of affording space, of affording infrastructure. When there's like 2 places to open up a cafe, you're not going to get 10 off center, you know. So our emphasis on downtowns and single family homes have utterly destroyed the aesthetics and the feeling of our cities. And like, again, the more cities that I visit like this are just it's gonna further reaffirm that I think that the empty space, the lack of a terminating horizon, the lack of height restrictions, the parking mandates, the ubiquitous lawns, all of those things deeply wound, if not irreparably wound, the urban fabric of areas. So yeah, no, I'm just more confirmed. I'm just a deeper believer now. So get ready for me to become more unbearable. Fuck yeah. But yeah, no, I mean, made friends here. Got to exercise here, explored. Definitely eye-opening in some ways where it's, I mean, I don't even know if it's eye-opening as much as, again, it's just reaffirming, and it makes concrete the points that I make. And now when people say, have you been, I can say yes, and then they're gonna say, why don't we move there? And then I'm gonna be like, listen, I have to fucking understand paperwork. So hell yeah, that's gonna be awesome.
But there's still the same desolation and bray that you'll see in Detroit. There's still the same issues and problems, but the thing about it is that the community seems robust enough to be able to handle it and to actually address it with things like active infrastructure or thriving local scenes and things like that you find so few and far between in America, where in American society there's the mainstream society and like kind of little else. Bike polo is great as a niche community, group rides are great, cycling, any sort of active lifestyle I'll always recommend, but at the same time they pale in comparison to the NFL, to U of M, to the mainstream things. So I think that by having, when I look at here, I see the mainstream, but I also see all these alternatives that, you know, there's gay bars in America, but there's not this bar, that bar, this bar, that bar, that are all equally foot trafficked. There's not as many opportunities to find your different crowd. So I think that that's why a lot of people end up left out. And I think that that's a permanent problem of the infrastructure. I think that that's because of the way we built the environment. I don't think that that's because, I mean, when people talk about like history and like that's why we don't have nice things, it's so ridiculous to me, because it's like we could today have improved infrastructure, repeal parking mandates. Minnesota's doing a great job. We're working on it. I think we repealed some and some zoning, mixed use zoning, houses that touch, all of these things that are just so simple to add density that literally, like, I can experience firsthand now, does just make you, at least some people, happier, because it works better. It like literally is more functional rather than like walking for 7 hours just to get between places, as I've done in my life. What surprises me the most is that I can walk further, bike further, and drink more than all the Europeans I've met. I thought that they would be like these fitness alcoholic gods. Turns out we're insane. Turns out I'm from an insane community in America. We're very weird. We're binge drinkers that love to exercise. So we're good. By the way, if you're traveling, you're going to be fine. We are the champs. But yeah, I really couldn't be happier doing the same exact shit that I do at home. And further, Detroit has more people in the city limits than Dublin does in the city limits. And it has over double the people in the metro area as Dublin has in the metro area. And yet we don't have passenger rail, aside from Amtrak, which is national, and the Q line. But the Lewis has 2 different lines that service essentially the entire northwest, east, south metro area. We can't compete with that. We barely have like, people here are pissed off when the bus is 5 minutes late. If you're a Detroiter, the bus runs every 40 minutes, maybe, you know? So it's just all these things that it's like, we make more money too. As a state of Michigan, we make more money than the country of Ireland. So we have more people, we have more money, we have more land, and yet our misery is by choice. It is voluntary depression. It is voluntary misery, because like all of these people, it was like, I'm friends with people who are in their 50s, and yet they have not advocated for change on this level because it wasn't an issue to them. They don't really seem to care. They like living in detached housing. They like their car. They like all of those things. But it left the next generation, it left my generation with none of this, with none of the ability to just bike around, with none of the abilities to just get an affordable townhouse, with none of the ability to just live in a community rather than live in an isolated just box for me and my tribe. You know, like there's not much that feels thriving. I like downtown Detroit fine. I think there's way too many stadiums. It's kind of the same thing with Grand Rapids, where I love Monroe Center, but it's the Van Andel, the DeVos, and Varnum that kind of dominate the downtown, destroying the old town and the walkable European-style fabric. Detroit's the same way with Ford Stadium, Tiger Stadium, the Velodrome, all that stuff. Kind of ruins the old footprint of the old city. And I mean, like, ideally, it would just be like, I don't really oppose the fucking Pistons playing in Rochester Hills. I mean, like, dude, fucking go out there. Like, it's good that we have money in the city, but I think a walkable downtown in an urbanized area would create more money over the long term than simple arcade, you know, style economics. Well, what do I know? I'm just a guy who fucking whines. I do believe in difference. I do think we're making fucking excellent strides. I could not be prouder of Minneapolis. They have a great bike network. We'll fucking go there for the show. We will. Fine. We'll go over there for the show. This is amazing, though. And again, I've never been happier in my entire life. And I'm so grateful to be here and for this experience. So, I mean, now you can't say, have you ever been? I have, and it is literally better. Ever since I've been here, I've been literally happier doing the exact same shit. But yeah, that's basically my sum up on the introductory feelings of like just what's been going on, how's it been hanging, you know? It's fucking awesome. Couldn't be happier to be here. I wish I could settle here. That's what my long-term goal is for sure. I'm going to be back in the States, and then the rest of the episodes are going to be in Michigan, Greater Michigan, baby. I love Greater Michigan. But I'm so jealous. I am so fucking jealous of buildings that touch, of public transit that works, of people who exercise, of cycle networks that connect most of the metro area, of density, all that stuff. It's amazing. It is literally amazing. And like, I think that if we could get any of that in Michigan, I think it would improve so much. Like, if we could build environments that are like the environments I've seen here, if we could build Capel streets, if we could build a place where you can walk for 40 minutes and still have more to walk, I think that we would see a huge economic turnaround. And I think we'd be in such a better position. So that's a pint. We might as well finish the pint, you know? But yeah, I mean, it does seem very simple to me because you know what I haven't seen the entire time that I've been here? The highway. You know what I don't miss at all? The fucking highway. I mean, as somebody who's never owned a car, it's literally a useless piece of infrastructure for me that the majority of our investment goes into. And like, I'm not anti-trucker, I'm not anti-diesel. So yes, highways for that, but that's where you need ring roads, and then you can have, again, localized rail like we already have with the freight network, to distribute those goods. So it's like I think truly in my heart of hearts, I believe that we have enough infrastructure I think we have too much infrastructure in the highways of downtown. So I do believe in highways in terms of connecting freight if we have to do it by truck. But I also think that more investment in freight, more investment in alternatives it works for Dublin. You know? And like, this is the thing too, is that we make more money with double the people. But that means that we're making like half GDP per capita. And like, what does Ireland have that we don't? A city. They have an urbanized area. Which also my other friends from Europe don't consider urbanized. They consider it pretty much rural. So maybe we could get towards that, you know. I feel like we could build in that direction and it wouldn't really hurt us. Yeah, I haven't missed, and they have single family homes. They have fuck off single family home suburbs that you can go fuck your kids in. So like they're not even missing that, you know? I just think that really density is the biggest gift that you can give any urban community. So, yeah. That's about it. Cheers. I fucking love it here. I will be so sad when I'm not here. But here's the hoping we can come back, you know? Here's the aiming to come back to the promised land, the Emerald Isle. No, truly though, it is. I'm so grateful for this experience, and I've never loved the place more. I've never been happy to wake up every day more. I've never been more motivated to just exist. So that makes me want to move, but I also wish that that mattered to the people who lived around me and the powers that be. And I wish that as a voter, as a taxpayer, as a citizen, that counted at all. And I wish that people would give, like, you know, some thought to that. But, oh well. Life sucks. Hopefully, maybe I'll make a difference, you know? Maybe in 70 years there'll be a Fletcher building that is just row homes built in the Irish style. That'd make me pretty fucking happy. We could just give it to the fucking crazy people and single moms. I would support that, so. Anyways, I'll see you at the next bar. Cheers.
A normally miserable sight in America, a mundane intersection, made a lot better through cycle lanes, dense buildings, and readily accessible bikes with reviews. The app actually lists reviews, ratings, and some commentary, additional bike parking, you know, so very similar sort of setup, very similar sort of bones, proving that the bones aren't the issue. You know, and if we address that and worked with what we had already, it works pretty amazing, just with like minimal improvement and minimal upkeep. Because again, all this is cheaper than widening highways or replacing asphalt. So when we're talking about the creation of biking infrastructure and all that, and that nobody's going to use it, and that we don't have enough people like that, what you can see across Europe is that induced demand. When you build it, people use it, specifically the people who you wouldn't suspect to get into the hobby. For children, elderly, anybody who's disabled, things such as cycling infrastructure literally make it possible for them to engage in the hobby. Meanwhile, those who are really invested in it are going to be doing it anyway. So cycling infrastructure isn't really for cyclists. It's for anybody who's curious about a bicycle, who doesn't want to die while trying it out. So I spent my birthday in Dublin, and I visited my sister here. It was an excellent trip, but I can't help but notice things like the highway is a ring road away from the economic centers, and they have a bike repair stand here right in front of a two-way bike lane. That's insane. This is 8 miles out from city center, so it's basically as far as Ada is from Grand Rapids, or as I mean, Detroit's big as fuck, but basically a Ferndale or a Dearborn. And it has a sense of peace, separation, and utility. Whoa, there's a stray dog out. What a world. This bike was abandoned at my sister's apartment complex, and it was gonna go into the bin. It was gonna be trash. It was abandoned because the back rim had a hole in it, which made it totally unsafe. That wasn't good. There was a pedal missing. There's a bunch of issues with it, but after repairing it, I just did like 300 or something miles on it, and it's good to go. Like, there's just literally bikes all around,
even though this isn't a true cycling country or like people complain about it, it's so available and so present, just everywhere. All in all, I'd say my experience is that this is pretty American style infrastructure at some points, and a little bit of effort, a little bit of redesign could make an entirely pleasant experience, especially when people are familiar with it, because going down country roads wasn't that bad when it was close to inhabited areas, or like, more trafficked areas. But, getting some bike lanes, getting some fixed stands, and we definitely see the beginning of this. Honestly, West Michigan's better. East Michigan's pretty good outside of the Detroit city. But they're building the Joe Louis, so like all that's sick as fuck. I just think that really density could tie it all together, and more continuity and effectiveness in getting from place to place. But yeah, no, it's like this has just proved to me further that this infrastructure can really thrive even if you don't have a traditional structure, because it thrives here, but it's almost even better in the new design stuff because there's like purposeful design in mind with bike infrastructure already. Things are a little bit messy here, but there is a good assortment of useful items. So we got screwdrivers, we got, it doesn't sound good, but we have adjustable wrench, we have a multi-tool with Allen's, we got tire lever, we got air pump. Yeah, all of this is pretty much all you need on the road. I used it to adjust a cone nut, so you can get a lot done with that. And again, being in the middle of nowhere is a plus because it feels pretty chill to just hang out and get whatever you need done. You're not going to get like trafficked heavily. So yeah, no, that's just like a little thing that doesn't feel like much, but it actually means the fucking world, where it's like this is a great service stand for an area that's like, again, basically remote. It's funny because inner ring suburbs in Michigan have better services usually than a lot of our big cities, but here the suburbs are smaller and have less services, so having this available is sick. But anyways, the bike lanes make it easy to get anywhere, so you're pretty much fine just living. So even the stuff that's outside of the center, even the stuff that's like sort of mundane, is fucking amazing, and I have fun using it. Like, I was biking along a highway and it was just so comfortable that, yeah, it was ugly, but I was still biking. I still felt safe. So it was still an incredibly enjoyable experience. Yeah, so couldn't be happier. This thing has gone from Bray to Hoth and back essentially in the same day. It's gone to Maynooth. If I can get a rack on it, or I will get a rack on it, and then I'll take it to Galway. And yeah, no, it's been perfect. So that's just one of those things where whatever's lying around is probably good enough. My sister got a used bike for $120, which was absolutely fucking insane. And yeah, this is the middle of nowhere. This is the highway. Again, it's not in the middle of where people live. It's not in the middle of where businesses are. It's pretty like out of the way. That's the entrance ramp. And it has a two-way bike lane right here, which then goes down to another intersection that has two-lane bike lanes on either side of the road. Further, this seemingly random place of a fix-it stand is the perfect place considering it's the highway, the like main city suburb area. So it's the last place before you get into stuff that's more remote. And right here is basically everything you need to make sure you can get in or get out. So again, just like a gentle, mundane thing that makes life so much better and easier. And so, while for Europe, Dublin might be a car-centric, disappointingly underbuilt cycling city, for me, it's been fucking a dream. It's been amazing. Going there, being able to go there from here with this, there being the double lane there, lanes over here, and this being that far from the city, I've been kind of in heaven. I've been living a great life for days and days. I mean, 2 weeks and I still feel just a sense of euphoria being in a place that's somewhat designed for my lifestyle. And I don't mean to just rag on America, but like, this is obviously preferable as a crossing over just like fucking make it, dude. And that's where it's like, I'm proud of Grand Rapids for things like Turner Lane. I'm proud of Kalamazoo for their new bike lanes. All that's sick. But I mean, all this being like 10 years old, yeah, they're fucking mogging us, dude. Holy shit. So I think all of this goes to show that if you invest in alternatives, people will use it. It's safer. It brings novices into the sport. Having things be normalized lowers the cost of entry, so it allows it to be sort of much more accessible to the average person. And all of this stuff just sort of feels like a given here. It's interesting because there's definitely still a cyclist biker divide, but it seems like there's not as much community for simply riding a bicycle here, because so many people do it. It's sort of ubiquitous. So you're either an enthusiast or you use a bike anyway. And yeah, I mean, it's hilly, there's mountains, but works so easy. And like, I'd so much rather be on a difficult incline. This hill fucking blows. This hill is actually the worst I've ever just like climbed straight, in terms of just like hauling it. And I'd rather do that every single time than deal with an easy to navigate strode that doesn't have clear demarcation. Another thing is that a lot of these, like even this little ramp up into the separated lane has a curb, so that curb creates a sense of separation as well, so that a driver doesn't just like swerve into the lane and not know it. Their wheel goes up and they're immediately given the tactile feedback that it's like, hey, I probably shouldn't be driving here. So just little things like that that really add to a much more enjoyable and easy experience. Never felt 100 kilometer just be like so nice on the body when it's like you're able to pace yourself for how fast you want to go, rather than like, oh, I have to be this speed at this segment or else I'm gonna like fucking fall behind traffic and get hit. So that is a complete transformation of mindset that, again, I couldn't be more grateful to have experienced. And also it just makes me further want to advocate for the changes that I won't shut the fuck up about, such as repealing parking mandates to allow more density and advocating for more bike infrastructure, because it makes it better for everybody when we all have room. Haven't really been honked at like at all, unless it's like hectic. So like one of the instances that I got honked at that I remember was that there was a closure in the cycle lane, so I had to like merge in to get like around because the sidewalk was also not available and you're not really supposed to ride on it. So then they're like, why the fuck are you in the road? But it's like, I don't know, drivers be drivers. They're fucking usually unfit people locked in a metal box. They're just gonna be fucking mad all the time anyway. So to be expected. But yeah, no, best 2 weeks of my life by far. Just in terms of raw enjoyment of every day and enjoying being outside. Hell yeah. We're gonna try to do more bike tours, more long distance shit. So the issue here was that, so we didn't know I was gonna get that bike. We thought I was gonna do rentals, and I did not bring the attachment, for my GoPro. So I couldn't do the whole rolling around and talking and all that. But we have a bike now, so next time set up all that shit, make sure that works out. And yeah, I mean, lost the speaker, shit like that. It's difficult trying to figure out how to work in two different continents. This is an island too, so add that. But yeah, first time in Europe. We don't know if it counts or not. It's different answer for everybody. And it is everything that I say in terms of compliments. Yeah, there's problems everywhere, but the problems here are so much fucking better to deal with than like being forced in a car. If you like cars, America's great. If you want to be like free to own a gun and talk shit to the government, that's awesome. But past that, if you just want like a normal life, It's kind of lackluster, to be honest. This being a low bar is insane to me. It is absolutely insane to me that people are like, wait until you experience something else, because this gets A+ for me. I'm sure I'm gonna like other things more in my life, maybe, but for the experience that I got for this place in my life, 100% grateful, 100% love it. Fuck yeah. Gonna come back, gonna see more of Europe, but like, I had fucking fun. I met friends. I'm excited to come back. I'm excited to explore more. Fucking tune in next year when we're gonna go to Galway, maybe. Athlone, definitely. But yeah, more long distance tours, baby, and we'll bring equipment. We'll shoot better. Oh well. Not everything can be perfect. Also, yeah, no, it's just difficult to do. Also, yeah, birthday episode. Fuck yeah. Time of my life, dude. 100 kilometers later, and we're back in the garage. She made it. She made it. Fucking great bike for a bando. A lot of these are not doing so hot. Like if you're this tire here, just completely gone. Yeah, bandos, you know, and again, they were scheduled with dates. This was supposed to be gone in 2022, so it was gonna be binned, gonna be just trash. Got a good 300 miles out of it. I had to spend like, I think 100 on parts, but it has front suspension, you know, has front suspension, 3 chain wheel. I think it's 7 in the back. I think it's 7. Works fine, but like nothing to read, you know, so, but muscle memory says that's right. Absolutely good bike. So very happy with that. Got basically 33 cents, 40 cents per mile on it, which is again about owning a car. So in terms of rental, yeah, no, that thing gets you far. So secondhand, like Bolton bikes, I would say I will give them a recommendation. Pretty happy with a bike I picked up from them, but also just there's a fuck ton more of bikers out here. So that means there's a fuck more cheap used bikes in pretty decent condition. There's a bunch more abandoned bikes. A lot of places that, you know, just have too many. So with the whole bike industry overproducing in Europe, that's like fucking amazing. It is. It means everybody's riding a bike. There's always going to be a bike available for you. It's normalized here. It's way safer. Again, I had that in 3 counties. We got Bray, Maynooth, Howth. So that's about as far as I went in every direction. It's gonna go further, you know. But that's absolutely fucking amazing for a free bike, for a trash bike that did not work, and I had to ride on a broken pedal for a minute. And it's had issues. I've had like, I think 3 flats on it because of just various issues getting it started. Had to replace the back wheel, but nothing a little bit of love can't fix. And I mean, it's just so fucking cool to see shit like this. We do have all of this stuff in America. It's so similar to America, but it's just not as invested in or as normalized. And I think that when you see it be just a part of life, when you see it just be how people get around and do things, that's fucking sick. And it's so cool to be just a part of it when you're outside. Fuck yeah. So, yeah. I mean, I'm running out of things to say other than just like, it's fucking awesome. It's amazing. I love it. And yeah, just really happy to have had this holiday. It felt very local,
This felt very much just like experiencing the metro, because I've just been like living and going to events and stuff. I want to volunteer next year, so yeah, no, I'm just really happy to do 100 kilometers on that bike twice, yesterday and today. Yeah, I mean, proud of how things went. Hell yeah. Great time with my sister. Got a little video out of it. I turned 28 here. Drank a fuck ton of Guinness. Jesus. Wow. And made decent, there's a lot of cool people. I'm happy with the people. The weed's funny. The weed's funny. Why is it so illegal, guys? You're like trying to pick up some weed, right? I sell weed for a living. I'm not saying, so if you were to try to pick up weed in this country, it would be, you're going to a drug dealer. Like, you know, like here, like for us, it's like literally like fucking pharmaceuticals. For them, it is literally like, oh shit, like it's like back in like 2006, dude. It's fucking, it's crazy. Hell yeah, dude. Great infrastructure, but weird legislation that's just how it goes. We gotta do mini app. To be fair, we gotta run the worst. It's fucking amazing. It's good crack. It's fucking awesome. We gotta run that against what I would call the best in America. So, hell yeah, dude. Season 2. Yeah. I'm still pissed off I didn't get more footage on the bike, but whatever. We have photos. We have a fuck ton of photos.
So, goodbye for now, Dublin. I'll be back for more fun. I'm very impressed. I understand there's problems. Nowhere's perfect, for sure. Fucking beautiful place, though. I'm so happy I was able to come. It is a great privilege. Standing in a place I've had so much just joy going around. And again, even the boring stuff, even just like biking along a highway is like actually great. Again, just impressed. I knew life could be better. I knew you could make different choices, but feeling it every day and getting to live it, pretty good insight. Very happy with that. I think that's really cool. So happy I got to see it. Still just kind of in awe. And hard to get a shot there. So yeah, I'll be back. I'll be riding this thing more. Have to make sure we can keep it, but if I could stay, I would. Funny that people just joke about it and just do it, but like it's not that simple. It's cool. People have talked about working here, so very welcoming place as long as it's, I mean, I love cycling. Most of my friends where I live are into bikes. It's so funny that here cycling is what you call biking, because I'm an Irish cyclist, but I'm an American biker firmly. I don't wanna, you know, get that mixed up. So still just whale of a time. Absolute fucking whale of a time.